Hey, welcome back to Glitchy University. In this video, we will cover TikTok paid ad scaling. This video will be in two parts. The first part is the presentation, and the second part is where we go into the ads manager. I'm going to walk you through the different scaling options you have from the ads manager view. So let's start by going over when and how you actually scale. You only want to think about scaling once you have a winning creative or multiple creatives, and you've generated a minimum of 3 to 5 leads or sales. And obviously you must be profitable. It's recommended to run a testing campaign for more than one day to make sure you have a clear winning creative with stable metrics. A bunch of people make a mistake here. They launch a creative, maybe get 2 leads within an hour, and then they try to scale it without actually knowing if that creative can hold up a larger spend. And that's why you want to spend at least 24 up to 48 hours on testing. By allowing more time to spend and test, this way you can save money and time in the long run. Just make sure you follow this process. So you can either scale horizontally or vertically. Now this could be with ad budget optimization, campaign budget optimization, or cost caps. All these campaigns and methods are really good, so I'd highly recommend testing everything and seeing what works and what doesn't work for you. While you're scaling, don't stop testing new creatives. This is really important. Most people just stop testing when they have a winning creative. If you continue testing, then you can make sure you always have a winning creative to scale at all times. This is really important, and most people don't really follow this rule, but I highly recommend that you do. Now let's go over what the difference is between a horizontal scale and vertical scale. Scaling basically means scaling up your operation, so spending more money on your ad and therefore getting more traffic. Now the really big benefit here is if you've tested your ad and you know it's working, then you can remain profitable even when spending upwards of 100 times the amount you spent on that initial test. Anyway, let's go back to the difference between scaling horizontally and scaling vertically. So horizontally scaling is duplicating an ad group. With every duplication, you're now testing a new audience pool. You can then split test interests, cost cap bids if you're running cost caps, and budgets. For example, $50 versus $100, because sometimes even $100 might outperform 50, and audiences. You can create lookalikes, create custom audiences from your creatives, video views, and link clicks. Now let's go over scaling vertically. This means increasing budgets to the ad group or CBO campaigns. How it works is that every 24 to 48 hours, we increase the budgets by 20 to 30%. Now, we don't recommend bumping the budgets too fast. Otherwise, the TikTok algorithm will reset and your metrics will drastically change. Now, it can be easy to make this mistake, but usually people try to scale way too fast. But the TikTok algorithm can't keep up. Your metrics can skyrocket and you're not profitable anymore. If you're seeing metrics are rising, I would highly recommend decreasing the budgets to stabilize the metrics. Now let's go over what ABO is. ABO stands for Ad Budget Optimization. So let's talk about different types of campaigns and strategies and why ABOs can really make a difference. So first up, the pros. It's easy to set up, which is beneficial for certain offer categories. For some offers like sweepstakes or CPI, where ad accounts might get banned or shut down fast, you want to scale quickly. Launching multiple ABO campaigns across ad accounts can be efficient. It's also got an ability to really spend fast, and it can scale both vertically and horizontally. You can have multiple ad groups and slowly increase the budget on winning ad groups. You can also decide how much each ad group will spend. Another advantage of ABOs is it's ideal for a limited budget. If you only have $30 or $50 to spend per day, you can set your ad group budget and it won't overspend or underspend. Now let's talk about the cons. And now we can go over the cons. It can be difficult to use day parting. You have 10 or more ad groups. Day parting can be helpful for certain offers, so for those you might consider something else. The other thing is that adding fresh winning creatives to 10 to 30 ad groups can be hard. Once your winning creative starts to die out, it's difficult to add a new one if you have many existing ad groups, like 30 to 50. Also, more manual work is involved. You can easily miss certain ad groups because there are so many. You could then overspend on low performing ones. So just keep that in mind. ABOs are great, but maybe not for every offer category. Now let's talk about CBO, which is campaign budget optimization. So the pros are TikTok automatically allocates budget to the best performing creatives or ad group. TikTok will understand better which creative or ad group will outperform the others and get the best results. It's also easy to manage when you only have 3 to 5 ad groups within the CBO. You can refresh creatives or add new ones, or pause bad ones easily. In the long term, CBO gets optimized better and can bring in much cheaper leads. You can be aggressive with the budgets without losing too much optimization. This is different to ABOs, where a $2,000 ad group budget isn't ideal. But with CBO, you can easily have a $3,000 or $5,000 campaign budget. That's the main difference. Now, of course, there's also a couple cons to this. You can't control which ad group or creative gets the most spend. And that's one of the main flaws of using CBO. Also, with small budgets, CBOs can struggle. It takes time and budget to optimize properly, which sometimes needs 2 to 3 days. If you only have $50 or $20 a day, I would recommend using ABOs instead. Now, if you're new to this, then of course it's going to sound a bit complicated, but I'm just going to show you exactly what I mean later on. Now, let's look at cost caps. The advantages of cost caps is you can control how much you want to pay per lead. This can be super useful if you have a limited budget and want to bring in leads as cheaply as possible. It's also ideal for offers where long-term stability is the priority over short-term gain. You can also easily spend as much as other campaign types and bring in much cheaper leads. Cost caps are really good if you play around with them, and once you find the right sweet spot for the bid and budget, cost caps can be unstoppable. I really recommend trying them out. Now, of course, there's also a few cons to using cost caps. It can be difficult to scale if the target cost per lead is too low. Your budget will barely spend if the bid is too low, because TikTok can't find leads for the price you want. Your competition might be outbidding you. It also might take longer for TikTok to optimize with cost caps. Keep that in mind. Now, this part only applies to you if you have a pixel, but if you have a fresh pixel, this might not be the best route. But if you have a seasoned pixel, I would highly recommend trying cost caps. To perform really well, you need a strong winning creative, and I don't recommend testing with cost caps. Use them only for scaling once you have a strong winning creative. Now, let's go over some general scaling tips. The first one is refresh creatives weekly. TikTok is fast moving and creative fatigue hits quickly. So reuse winning hooks, clips and angles in your next creatives, but continue to make winning ones. Now, a second tip is that broad targeting is almost always the best, but using a more narrow interest targeting can be effective as well depending on your offer and the angle you use. Now, a third tip is split test ABOs versus CBOs. Test everything. Remember, what works for something else doesn't mean it'll work for you. And one more thing is that if you can use pixels, then absolutely do. Having a proper conversion postback is a must. Now, not all offers and deals actually support this, but if it does, then absolutely use it. Now, I think it's also important to go over a few scaling mistakes to avoid. Now, trust me, this will save you a lot of time and pain. And the best way to do this is to go over some of the most common mistakes we see. First up, as I mentioned before, scaling too fast and resetting the TikTok algorithm. Instead, slowly increase your budget, especially if you plan to use the ad account long term to focus on scalability. Now, another one is also not testing creatives long enough. People move on to scaling too fast. Test for at least more than one day, maybe 24 to 48 hours in total, to have a clear understanding of which creative is a winner. And also ignoring creative fatigue. People often ask why their performance has dropped after spending a lot, between 10 to 50k on a creative. It's most likely creative fatigue. Performance depends heavily on the creative itself, angles and clips. Some last longer than others. When performance suddenly drops, it's usually the creative, not the platform. And also overcomplicating campaigns too early. Don't try to launch 100 ad groups with 20 creatives each and spend $10,000 on the same day. This is just unnecessary and can be really counterproductive. Let's also go over some of the most common questions. First up is, how much should I spend to start? Start with $20 to $50 per day per ad group. Test for a minimum of 24 to 48 hours and then scale based on those results. Another common question is, what if my ad stops performing? Now, to try and resolve this, try broader targeting or create a new batch of creatives. Performance usually drops because of two reasons: creative fatigue or audience saturation. Now, how many creatives should I test at once? You can test quite a lot, maybe 10 to 20, but sweet spot is usually 3 to 5. Ideally have a different hook, call to action and clip in each creative. Then split test variations. Don't create 5 variations that are exactly the same. It's just unnecessary and waste time and money. Unique creative variation is really important because TikTok is a creative first platform. Okay, now I've finished our presentation, let's go into the Ads Manager to see in action how we can scale and what kind of scaling options we have. So here's our Ads Manager. You probably know your way around this now because you've watched the previous videos. But anyway, for scaling, I just want to show you what ABO, CBO and cost caps mean and how they look. So let's click on create again and you have different options. I prefer to switch to full options to see everything, and there are different campaign objectives. It depends on what you plan to run, but for most offers like lead gen, e-commerce or CPI, you'll want a pixel setup and use a conversion campaign like website conversion or sales. And now just click on manual campaign. Now I'm going to show you an ABO campaign. Now because we're doing ABO, we need to make sure we have campaign budget optimization turned off. Make sure it's off and then continue. Now you can connect your pixel and have proper conversion postback. Your pixel will show up, and for placements select manual and choose TikTok. Make sure to always untick global app bundle and Pangle. Under advanced settings I also turn off allow video download. Now targeting is self-explanatory. Here's the ad group budget. With ABOs you can control the budget and the ad group level. Now keep bidding and optimization typically on conversions. For attribution settings, you can split test 1-day click versus 7-day click with view through off, for example. Now this is how an ABO would look. While we're here, we can also set up a cost cap. Now this is pretty self-explanatory, but basically you can cap how much you spend per click. Now let's look at setting up a CBO campaign. Again, use the same initial settings with sales objective, manual campaign, and then go down to the campaign level settings. You want to turn on campaign budget optimization. Click OK if prompted, and this is where you enter your campaign budget. With CBOs, you can start with a larger budget, for example $200 or $500, instead of $20 to $50 for a typical ABO ad group. Everything inside the ad groups, targeting, creatives will stay the same. With CBOs, you can typically have 3 to 5 ad groups inside. Just duplicate your main ad group that many times. Again, split test everything, including attribution windows similar to ABOs. So that's basically it. From here, you have to choose whether you want to scale vertically or horizontally, but that's really up to you. But now I hope you have a better understanding of the different scaling options you have on TikTok. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.